Listen to me carefully. Most people will tell you that the secret to success is sharing your vision with the world. They tell you to announce your goals, to post your progress on social media, and to let everyone know what you're working on so they can hold you accountable. Let me tell you something. That is a lie. It is a trap designed to give you a cheap hit of dopamine before you've ever even done the work. When you tell people your plans, your brain tricks you into feeling the satisfaction of the achievement without the struggle of the execution. You feel like you've already won because people are clapping for a future that hasn't happened yet. But that applause is hollow. It's a ghost. While you're out there talking about what you're going to do, the world is moving on without you. True power doesn't need an audience. True strength doesn't need validation from people who haven't even mastered their own lives. If you want to win big in this world, you have to learn the art of silence. You have to learn how to move in the shadows where nobody can see your next move. The 1% understand something that the 99% will never grasp. Silence is a shield. When you keep your mouth shut, you keep your energy focused. Every time you speak your intentions out loud, you leak power. You're giving away pieces of your foundation before the house is even built. Ask yourself honestly, how many times have you told someone about a big idea, felt that rush of excitement, and then watched that idea die a slow death because you spent all your passion talking instead of doing? It happens because you satisfied the hunger with words. You ate the dessert before the meal. From this moment on, I want you to change music your frequency. Stop seeking the approval of others. Stop looking for likes and music comments to tell you that your dream is valid. Your dream is valid because your future self is watching you right now, and he's waiting to see if you have the discipline to stay quiet. He's waiting to see if you can handle the isolation that comes with greatness. Nobody is coming to save you, and nobody needs to see the blueprint until the building is standing tall and unshakable. Think about a massive iceberg floating in the deep, dark waters of the North Atlantic. What you see above the surface is only a fraction of its true size. The world sees the white peak, the jagged edges, and the imposing presence. But underneath that water lies the real weight. Miles of solid ice frozen over centuries. Music anchoring that peak against the strongest currents and the most violent storms. That is how your success should look. Most people want to be all peak and no base. They want the visible glory without the invisible grind. They want the shine without the shadows. But listen to me. If you don't have that massive hidden foundation of work that nobody knows about, the first storm that hits you will tip you over. You'll capsize because you were too top-heavy with public expectations. You need to spend years in the dark. You need to spend thousands of hours working on your craft, your body, and your mind when the cameras are off and the room is empty. That invisible work is what makes you dangerous. It's what makes you unstoppable. When you finally emerge, people will call it luck. Let them. They weren't there in the silence. Preparation is not a hobby. It is a way of life. Let me tell you a story about how the world really works. There are two types of people when music knocks. The first person hears the knock and starts looking for their shoes. They start looking for their keys, trying to get dressed, trying to get their mind right. By the time they open the door, opportunity is gone. It doesn't wait. It's already moved down the street to the house of the second person. The second person was sitting behind that door in total silence, fully dressed, shoes tied, mind sharp as a razor for 5 years. They didn't tell the neighbors they were waiting. They didn't post a picture of the door. They just stayed ready so they didn't have to get ready. This is what separates the winners from the dreamers. Music success is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. But you can't prepare effectively if you're constantly distracted by the opinions of others. You have to be willing to disappear for a while. You have to be willing to be the person who went ghost for a season. While they sleep, you grind. While they party, you study. While they talk, you execute. Let's look at the patterns that emerge when the pressure gets dialed up. Think about the young man who decides to start a business while working a grueling night shift for 5 years. His friends think he's boring. They think he's lost his spark because he doesn't go out anymore. He's working 12 hours at the factory, then coming home and working 6 hours on his laptop. He doesn't tell them he's building a software company. He doesn't tell them he's invested every penny into his education. He stays silent. Then one day he quits his job, buys a house in cash, and disappears from the neighborhood. Everyone says he got lucky. No, he just understood the law of the harvest. He planted in the dark and harvested in the light. Or think about the athlete who was told he wasn't fast enough. He didn't argue. He didn't post. Haters are my motivators on his story. He just went to the track at 3:00 a.m. for 2 years straight. He worked on his footwork until his legs burned and his lungs screamed. Pressure didn't break these people. It revealed the patterns they had been building in private. What patterns are you building right now? Are you building a pattern of talk or a pattern of action? Your attention is the most valuable currency you own. It is more valuable than gold, more precious than oil. And right now, there are 1,000 things trying to steal it from you. You have energy vampires in your life, people who don't want to see you succeed because it reminds them of their own failure. They'll call you to complain about their problems, sucking the life out of your focus. Then you have social media, a digital drug designed to keep you scrolling, comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. Every time you check that phone, you're letting a stranger into your music mental sanctuary. You have to build a focus fortress. You have to draw a line in the sand and say no further. This means turning off the notifications. This means cutting off toxic friends who offer nothing but drama. This means being okay with being unreachable for hours at a time. If someone can't get a hold of you because you're working on your future, that's their problem, not yours. Protect your peace like your life depends on it, because the quality of your life depends on the quality of your focus. The road to the top isn't a straight line. It's a sequence. It starts with the quality of your input. If you're feeding your mind garbage, mindless entertainment, gossip, and negativity, you can't expect to produce greatness. You are a biological computer. If the code is bad, the output will be bad. You need to curate your environment. Read the books the 1% read. Listen to the mentors who have actually walked the path. Once you have the right input, you apply the 1% law. Don't try to change your whole life in 24 hours. You'll fail. Just be 1% better than you were yesterday. Read 5 more pages. Do 10 more push-ups. Save $10 more. It seems small, but it's the compound effect in action. Every week you must evaluate. Look at your progress with cold, hard honesty. Did you win the week? If you didn't, don't make excuses. Correct the course. Pivot if you have to, but never quit. Most people quit when they are 3 feet from the goal. They quit because they don't see immediate results. But you understand that persistence is the only thing that guarantees a breakthrough. Listen to me, because this is where the road gets narrow and the air gets thin. Discipline is not a feeling. It is not a mood. It is not something that falls out of the sky when the sun is shining and you feel like a champion. Discipline is what's left when motivation has packed its bags and left the building. If you only work when you feel like it, you're giving your emotions permission to dictate your destiny. You're letting your feelings be the boss of your future. That is a dangerous way to live. The world doesn't care how you feel. The market doesn't care if you're tired. Your bank account doesn't care if you're not in the mood. Winners have systems that beat moods every single time. They have non-negotiables that they perform regardless of the weather, the economy, or their emotional state. This starts the second your eyes open. If you're hitting that snooze button, you're already losing the first battle of the day. You're telling your subconscious that your dreams can wait 5 more minutes. You're telling your goals they aren't worth the discomfort of getting out of bed. Stop lying to yourself and start showing up for yourself. Let's talk about that 4 a.m. wake-up call. It's not about the hour, it's about the authority. When you wake up before the world, you gain an edge that can't be bought. You get a head start on the chaos. While everyone else is being woken up by their alarm clocks, feeling music stressed and reactive, you've already won. You've already prayed. You've already meditated. You've already moved your body. And you've already planned your attack. By the time the rest of the world is pouring their first cup of coffee, you're already 3 hours into your mission. That creates a psychological momentum that is impossible to stop. You need a 90-day sprint system. You need to pick one goal, just one, and commit to it for 90 days with total radical discipline. No cheat days. No, I'll start Monday. Start now. Follow the exact steps you laid out in the silence. This is the non-negotiable framework. If you said you were going to run, you run. If you said you were going to study, you study. If you said you were going to build, you build. Keep the promises you make to yourself. You have to understand the law of strategic patience. We live in a world that wants everything right now. High-speed internet, instant food, overnight success. People want the harvest the same day they plant the seeds. But nature doesn't work that way, and neither does greatness. Think about the seasons of a tree. In the winter, it looks dead. There are no leaves, no fruit, and no signs of life. But underneath the frozen ground, the roots are growing deeper. They are searching for water, anchoring the tree for the growth that's coming in the spring. You are in your winter right now. You're working hard. You're staying silent, and you don't see any fruit yet. You feel like nothing is happening. You feel like you're wasting your time. But listen to me. If you stop now, you'll never see the spring. You're building the foundation. The first 3 months of any new journey are just the foundation. You won't see much. The next 6 months, you'll start to see visible change. But the transformation that takes 12 months of consistent, silent, relentless action. Delayed gratification is the superpower of the elite. It's the ability to say no to a good thing now, so you can say yes to a great thing later. Most people are chasing the good and missing out on the great. They want a fancy car now, so they take on debt that chains them to a job they hate. They want the fun night out now, so they sacrifice the clarity they need for tomorrow's big meeting. They want the comfort of the couch now, so they sacrifice the health of their future self. This is why you must stay silent. When you tell people your plans, they often encourage you to settle for the good. They tell you that you've done enough. They tell you to take a break. They don't see the vision you have for your life. They can't see it because it wasn't given to them. It was given to you. Your timeline is not their timeline. You have to be willing to look like you're losing in the short term so you can win in the long term. You have to be okay with being misunderstood. You have to be okay with being the boring one for a season of your life. Let's get real about your feedback and refinement systems. How do you know if you're actually getting better or if you're just busy? Busy is not the same as productive. You can run on a treadmill for an hour and go nowhere. You need honest measurement systems. This is where the mirror test comes in. Every Sunday night, I want you to look yourself in the eyes in the mirror and ask, if I worked for myself, would I fire myself based on my performance this week? Be brutal. Did you actually put in the work you said you would? Did you stay silent, or did you leak your energy to people who don't matter? Did you protect your focus fortress, or did you let the energy vampires in? If the answer is no, don't beat yourself up. But don't lie to yourself either. Course correction is a requirement for success. Even a rocket going to the moon is off course 90% of the time. It's constantly making small adjustments to stay on track. You have to do the same. If a habit isn't working, change it. If a strategy is failing, pivot. But never let the failure of a strategy become the failure of the mission. This is what separates the 1% from the 99%. The 1% are masters of honest self-assessment. They don't look for someone to blame when things go wrong. They don't point fingers at the government, their boss, or their upbringing. They look in the mirror. They ask, what did I miss? What can I do better? This protocol is what keeps you growing. It keeps you humble. When music, you stay silent about your plans. You have the space to be honest with yourself without the noise of outside opinions. You can admit you're struggling without feeling like you're failing in front of an audience. You can refine your craft in the dark until it's so sharp. It cuts through the competition like a hot knife through butter. Remember, the world only sees the finished product. They don't see the discarded drafts. They don't see the failed experiments. They don't see the tears or the frustration. They just see the wind. Let them keep their illusions. You keep your process. You keep your silence. You keep your hunger. Eventually, if you stay consistent, something magical starts to happen. It's called the flywheel effect. In the beginning, pushing that massive stone wheel takes everything you have. You're sweating, you're straining, and the wheel barely moves an inch. You do it again the next day, and it moves another inch. It feels like you're doing all this work for no reward. But you keep pushing day after the day, month after month. Then one day, the wheel starts to turn on its own. Momentum takes over. Now the same amount of effort that used to move it an inch moves it a mile. This is the power of compounding. Think about the math. 1 raised to the power of 365 is 37.78. That means if you get just 1% better every day for a year, you are nearly 38 times better by the end of that year. But here's the catch. The first 100 days, you won't feel 38 times better. You might not even feel twice as good. The growth is backloaded. It happens at the end. Most people quit on day 90, right before the curve starts to shoot up. They quit because they don't understand how momentum works. You have to recognize when momentum is building, even if the results aren't public yet. You'll feel it in your spirit. You'll wake up with a different kind of energy. You'll find that the things that used to be hard are now easy. The 4 o'clock a.m. wake-up call isn't a struggle anymore. It's a standard. The deep work sessions aren't a chore. They're a sanctuary. When you reach this stage, you have to be even more careful with your silence. Success creates a new kind of noise. When you start winning, people will start coming around. They'll want to know your secret. They'll want a piece of your time. They'll want to be part of the inner circle. Listen to me carefully. The people who weren't with you in the gym, the library, or the office at midnight don't deserve to be there for the victory lap. Keep your circle small. Keep your intentions private. Even when you've made it, stay in that student mindset. Stay hungry. The second you think you've arrived is the second you start sliding backward. There is no standing still in this life. You're either growing or you're dying. Now, I want you to imagine your life 5 years from today. If you stay on this path of silence and discipline, what does it look like? Vividly imagine the man you've become. Look at the way he carries himself. Look at the respect he commands without saying a word. Look at the security he's built for his family. Look at the clarity in his eyes. That man is waiting for you. He is the result of every no you say today. He is the result of every hour of silent work you put in when you wanted to quit. Now imagine the other path. Imagine the version of you that kept talking, kept seeking attention, and kept making excuses. 5 years from now, that version of you is still in the same place, only more bitter, more tired, music, and full of regret. Regret is the heaviest thing a human being can carry. It's a weight that gets heavier every single year. You have two paths in front of you, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. One weighs ounces, the other weighs tons. Which one are you going to choose? Breakthrough isn't an event. It's a lifestyle. It's the way you breathe, the way you walk, and the way you handle your business. It's about circling back to that initial promise you made to yourself. To stay silent music and win big. This is your final challenge. From this moment on, stop trying to prove yourself to people who don't matter. Stop trying to win the argument and start trying to win the war. Let your results be your noise. Let your success be your statement. When you finally reach that peak, you won't need to tell anyone how you got there. They'll see it in the way you stand. They'll see it in the foundation you built. This is what separates the 1% from the 99%. This is how you become unstoppable. This is how you change your family tree forever. Nobody is coming to save you. It's all on you. But you have everything you need inside of you right now. Shut out the world. Get to work. Stay silent and watch what happens. Let me tell you something about the nature of the human ego. Your ego is a hungry animal. It wants to be fed, and it wants to be fed right now. It thrives on the recognition of others. It wants the pat on the back. It wants the good job from people who aren't even in the game. But every time you feed that ego with the praise of others, you are starving your soul. You are trading your long-term legacy for a short-term ego stroke. Listen to me carefully. If you can't control your need for validation, you will never control your destiny. The man who can work in total anonymity without the need for anyone to acknowledge his effort is the most dangerous man in any room. Why? Because he isn't doing it for them. He's doing it for a purpose that is bigger than his feelings. He's doing it because it's who he is, not because of how it looks. When you operate from that place of internal conviction, the world loses its power over you. You become unshakable because your foundation isn't built on the shifting sands of public opinion. It's built on the solid rock of self-respect. The silence I am talking about is not just about your mouth. It's about the silence of your mind. It's about cutting out the noise of the shoulds and musts that society tries to force upon you. Most of you are living a life that was programmed into you by people who are just as lost as you are. You're chasing a version of success that doesn't even belong to you. You're running a race on a track someone else built, heading toward a finish line you don't even care about. This is why you must go ghost. You need the silence to hear your own voice. You need to pull back from the world so you can figure out what you actually want, not what you've been told to want. While they are busy arguing about things that won't music matter in 5 years, you are sitting in the quiet, refining your vision. You are looking at the man in the mirror and asking the hard questions. What do I stand for? What am I willing to die for? What kind of man do I want to be when the lights go out? If you don't have the answers to those questions, you're just a leaf blowing in the wind. Think about the way a master craftsman works. He doesn't invite the whole town into his workshop while he's still carving the wood. He doesn't show the half-finished statue to the critics. He locks the door. He pulls the shades. He stays in that sawdust for months, maybe years. He understands that the process is sacred. He knows that external eyes bring external expectations, and expectations are the thieves of creativity. When you allow people to see your work before it's ready, you're inviting their limitations into your space. They'll tell you why it won't work. They'll tell you it's too ambitious. They'll project their own fears onto your canvas. This is why you must stay silent. Your plans are a seed. If you keep digging up the seed to show everyone how much it's grown, you'll kill the plant. You have to leave it in the dark. You have to let the soil do its work. You have to trust the process, even when you can't see the progress. Your growth is happening underground in the silence where it belongs. Let's talk about the 1% law in a way you've never heard it before. Everyone talks about the numbers, but nobody talks about the psychology. The 1% law is actually a test of character. It's a test of whether you can be satisfied with invisible wins. Most people want the 100% jump. They want to wake up and be a completely different person. They want the radical transformation overnight, but because they can't see the 1% growth, they think it's not working. They get frustrated and they quit. But the man who understands silence knows that the 1% is everything. He knows that if he just gets a little bit better at his morning routine or a little bit sharper in his focus, he is winning. He doesn't need a billboard to tell him he's improving. He feels it in the way he moves. He sees it in the quality of his thoughts. He celebrates the small, silent victories that nobody else will ever see. That is what builds the iron will. That is what creates the grit that is necessary to survive the seasons of winter that are guaranteed to come. I know you're tired of being the person who is overlooked. I know it hurts when you see people with half your talent getting twice the recognition because they know how to play the social media game. I know it feels like the world is rewarding the loud over the capable. But let me tell you something that the 99% will never understand. Fame is a flicker, but excellence is a flame. Fame can be given and it can be taken away in a heartbeat, but excellence is yours forever. When you spend your time in the shadows becoming excellent music at what you do, you are building a power that cannot be cancelled, cannot be stolen, and cannot be ignored. Eventually, your results will become so loud that you won't have to say a word. The world will find you. Success music will find you. But if you spend your energy trying to be famous before you are excellent, you are building a house of cards. One gust of wind and it's all over. Stay in the workshop, stay in the silence, build something that lasts. Your future self is watching you right now, and he is begging you, music, to have the courage to be boring. He is begging you to have the discipline to say no to the party, no to the distracting, and no to the urge to explain yourself. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your transformation. If people ask why you've changed, you don't have to give them a speech. You don't have to justify your new habits. Just stay silent. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. Their confusion is a sign that you are outgrowing their reality. If you still fit perfectly into your old friend group, you aren't growing. If everyone around you understands exactly what you're doing, you aren't thinking big enough. Greatness should look like madness to those who are content with mediocrity. If they don't think you're a little bit crazy, you're probably playing it too safe. You were not born to be understood by everyone. You were born to fulfill a mission that only you can see. Let's look at the growth sequence again, but this time through the lens of the pivot versus quit mentality. In the silence, you have the clarity to know the difference. Most people quit because they are embarrassed. They tried something public, it didn't work immediately, and they can't handle the perceived judgment of their peers. So they stop. But when you move in silence, there is no embarrassment. There is only data. If you try a strategy and it fails, you don't quit the mission. You just pivot the method. You can fail 1,000 times in the dark and it doesn't matter, because the only thing the world will ever see is music, the one time you succeeded. This is the ultimate freedom of staying silent. It gives you the room to fail, to experiment, and to be wrong without the weight of public scrutiny. You can refine your skills until they are world class. You can fail privately music until you are ready to win publicly. This is how the giants are made. They aren't born great. They are forged in the quiet fire of trial and error. Listen to me carefully. Nobody is coming to save you. Not the government, not your parents, not your boss, and certainly not your followers. The only person who can change the trajectory of your life is the person looking back at you in the mirror. And that person needs you to stop talking and start acting. While they sleep, you grind. While they talk, you build. While they music complain, you adapt. This is the separation season. This is the time when the gap between the 1% and the 99% music becomes a canyon. You have to decide which side of that canyon you want to be on. The 99% will always have an excuse. They will always have a reason why it's not the right time. But you know that the right time is a myth. There is only now. There is only this moment and the choice you make within it. Choose the silence. Choose the work. Choose the future version of yourself that is waiting for you to catch up. Let me tell you something about the power of the shadow. We live in a culture that is obsessed with the light. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be heard, and everyone wants to be celebrated. But nothing significant ever grows in the direct music, scorching heat of the spotlight. Deep roots need the cool, quiet, dark of the earth. You have to be willing to be the person that people forget about for a while. You have to be okay with them wondering where you went. They might think you gave up. They might think you lost your edge. Let them think it. In fact, encourage it. The more they underestimate you, the more room you have to operate. When you are silent, you are a ghost in the machine. You are moving pieces on a chessboard that they aren't even looking at. By the time they realize you're in the game, it's already checkmate. That is the power of moving in silence. You aren't fighting for attention. You are fighting for territory. And territory is won through strategy and execution, not through shouting. Every morning at 4 o'clock a.m., there is a silence that most people will never experience. It is a heavy, holy kind of quiet. At that hour, the world hasn't started its demands yet. Your phone isn't buzzing with other people's problems. Your email isn't piling up with tasks. It is just you and your purpose. In those early hours, you are building your focus fortress. You are setting the tone for the entire day. If you can win the first 2 hours of the day in total silence, you become virtually unshakable for the remaining 22. Most people wake up and immediately plug into the matrix. They check the news, they check social media, and they let the world's chaos dictate their internal state. They are reactive. But you are proactive. You use that silence to visualize the man you are becoming. You use it to sharpen your mind. You use it to remind yourself that you don't need the world's permission to be great. You already have it. Let's talk about the archetypal entrepreneur who worked a night shift for 5 years. I'm not talking about a specific name, I'm talking about the spirit of the man who understands the grind. Imagine a man working in a warehouse moving boxes from midnight until noon. He's tired. His back aches. His friends are out at the bars on Friday nights posting pictures of their drinks and their laughs. He sees those pictures. He feels that sting of isolation. But instead of joining them, he goes home, sleeps for 4 hours, and then spends the rest of his day building a digital empire in a language he taught himself. He doesn't tell his co-workers. He doesn't tell his family. He just does it. Why? Because he knows that if he tells them, they will try to talk him out of it. They will tell him to be realistic. They will tell him he's wasting his time. He stays silent to protect the flame. 5 years later, he sells that business for millions. The people he worked with see his name in the paper and say, I knew him. He was just a warehouse guy. No, he was never just a warehouse guy. He was a lion in a warehouse. This is what I mean when I say pressure reveals patterns. The warehouse didn't make him disciplined. It revealed the discipline that was already there. The pressure of the long hours and the low pay acted as a refinery. It burned away everything that wasn't essential. It left behind a man of pure will. Most of you are complaining about the pressure in your life right now. You're complaining about the bills, the lack of support, and the difficulty of your job. Stop complaining. That pressure is a gift. It is showing you who you really are. If you crumble under the weight of a 9 to F5, how can you expect to carry the weight of a legacy? If you can't stay disciplined when you're broke, you'll never stay disciplined when you're rich. Wealth just amplifies who you already are. If you're a talker now, you'll be a bigger talker then. If you're a worker now, you'll be a force of nature then. Use this time of struggle to build the patterns that will sustain your success later. You have to learn to protect your attention like it's the last drop of water in a desert. There are 3 energy vampires that will drain you dry if you let them. The first is toxic people. These are the ones who always have a problem for every solution. They thrive on drama. They want to pull you down into the mud because they're uncomfortable seeing you stay clean. The second is social media. It is a slot machine for your brain. It gives you a tiny hit of dopamine every time you see a red notification, but it leaves you feeling empty and anxious. The third is other people's opinions. This is the most dangerous one of all. If you live for their praise, You will die by their criticism. You have to build a fortress around your mind. You have to be the gatekeeper of what enters your consciousness. If it doesn't align with your mission, it doesn't get in. Period. No exceptions. This is the growth sequence in action. Learn, apply, evaluate, music, correct, persist. Let's look at learn. Most people stop learning the day they leave school. They think they know enough to get by. But in a world that is changing,